You're from Australia, I'm from Singapore. Like, what are the chances you finding these kind of people in this small town in Sioux Falls, South Dakota? It's kind of interesting. I know every time I gave a tour, the most commonly asked questions I get as a foreign student, they'll be like, how do you find Augie? Or like, what made you join Augie?
How did you end up here?
You see, the funny thing is, I didn't finish my education in Singapore actually.
So you don't have a high school certificate?
So I ended up going to Indonesia for my high school. I really hated physics and I hated memorizing biology. It's the Asian ingrained
You have to have a future. Be in a science. Math will give you no money.
Chemistry was the only path I could take. I didn't have any big plans or what I wanted to do in college. You're just 18 years old, you're asking me what big boy or big girl decisions do you want to make? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's good for me. My dad was like, okay, why don't you try going to the States? My grandma was like, premium economy for only $1,200. Go, run flight. Asian families, right?
Crazy rich Asians.
We're all crazy. I mean, we're not rich, but we're definitely crazy. Cheering at football games and basketball, it's not a very common thing in Asia because when you're a dance team, you just do dance, right? You don't go to games and do all that stuff. My first time being on the field, I've never felt so tired. Don't know anything about American football. Just stood there and there were so many rules. I work at the clinic. It's not like the main hospital. And I'm just here fresh out of college. How do I act? Do I act like buddies with them? Chums? Looking back, I'm kind of embarrassed. If I'm not wrong, I did perform right after you did in the talent show. Whoa, Britney does that? Right? I definitely think the people here were also really nice. If it wasn't for them, I think I'd be lost in the sauce. That's for sure.
Lost in the sauce.
Yep.
Welcome back to College, a show where we share the incredible transformations of international students who studied abroad at college in the US. Today, we're joined by someone who was very unsure about what she wanted to do after high school. Following the persuasion from her father, that's when she finally decided, you know what? Let's give the US a try. And that's where she took the leap of faith and never looked back. Her college experience took a hit and a turn for the worse during her sophomore year, where she spent the entire year online back home in Singapore. Despite this major challenge, she did, however, return to the US for her junior and senior years, where in fact she joined the dance team and finished off her chemistry major. After graduating, this person hung around Sioux Falls and actually sat on the couch for 3 months, where she was waiting her approval to be allowed to work in the country. It was a very rocky journey, but one that I believe shows great resilience. I love this person's energy, and I think it really, truly shines through in our conversation. Listen for yourself. It's time to go back to college with Britney Thong. Welcome back to college.
Hello. Good to be back.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Enjoying the weather at least.
Oh yeah. I mean, that sun pouring through the window is pretty nice and very different this time of year.
I know. Usually by this time, all you see is snow and the grey skies. So this is new. It's definitely warmer than it is.
It's almost summer vibes I'm feeling. Just kicking back in the lounge chair and...
Maybe not summer. Summer's a bit hot. It's a bit cool for summer. I say fall weather is very appropriate. Yeah, we don't get to have this kind of weather for this very long, so enjoy it while it lasts, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's great. And you're still in the Sioux Falls area. You graduated I guess it was maybe, how many months ago now? 8, 9 months ago?
Like quick math.
In the May? No, in May.
In May, yeah. So about
2023.
Yep. 6 months ago, I think.
Yeah. And you've stayed in the Sioux Falls area, but you couldn't, you said just before that you had a little bit of trouble actually trying to get some work.
We do love those OPT and visa issues with the government and all. So I tried to apply. I applied early before I graduated, but it took them a while. The administration and whatnot took about 3 months. And so during that time, I was planning to go back to Asia, but I went to talk to Heather, who was one of the IPO advisors. Then she was like, yeah, it's not really good to just, fly back to Asia because you might get your application declined. And I was like, why is that? And she was like, I don't know. They just think that you won't come back. And I was like, I paid so much money for this application. Why wouldn't I come back? Yeah.
I'll definitely be back.
I was like, it's a three-digit number. And it's definitely not a low 3-digit number that I had to pay for, especially as a broke college student. So yeah, I couldn't find work till like recently in September. So I've just been gaining experience from work for at least about, I think, almost 3 months now. But yeah.
Yeah, it must have been very tough and frustrating after spending the 4 years graduating, not being able to jump in to work straight away.
I know I definitely had that like lag. I was just no motivation. I couldn't even find work because it wasn't like legal for me to work then. So I just kind of sat around at my friend's house, just did nothing. All my friends go to like do their summer jobs and stuff. I just kind of sat around, do nothing. I guess clean the house, mostly napped half the time, but. Other than that, I didn't have a license, so I couldn't drive. But fun thing is, I did get a license over the summer, so that's woohoo.
That's
and
a good job to get done.
I know, one off that checklist, and I also did get a car. So it was so stressful though buying a car here because like as a foreigner, you don't have all like the American benefits like you can just like hop onto your parents' credit while buying a car.
How does it actually work? Because I had been looking for quite some time. During this trip, I always envisioned that I would do some snowboarding afterwards, and I wanted to buy a van so I could just sleep in the back of it. But I was looking through all the laws, and it differs even from state to state, so it gets confusing. And I was looking up, which state would be the best where I could buy a vehicle, but it's very tough. And I was looking on the forums, people say it's very difficult as a foreigner to actually buy a vehicle in the US.
Yeah, so I had to go take the driver's test. So I didn't have a like driver's license yet. I just had the driver's permit, but because I'm 21 and above, they're like has less strict rules with regards to like getting a car. So I say as long as so I went to the car dealership and they were like, yeah, as long as you have a permit to drive or like a legal whatever license or like some kind of certification that you can drive a car, you can buy a car. But it has to be it's easier when you have like an American like certified kind of stuff. So it was like an American driver's permit. So that made it easier for me to buy a car. I was like, oh, so I just have a permit but not an actual license, but I can buy a car with that. It was
So it's not an actual state license.
Now I do have that
You
I got because like how would I take the driver's test without a car, right? I was like, so I had to buy a car, but in order to buy a car, I need to have some kind of driver's permit. So they didn't require you to have a license before you usually people would use their parents' car or borrow a friend's, but borrowing a friend's is always very risky, right? So I had to,
especially if you don't have your license, so it's not proven that you can actually drive it safely.
And you also need to have like someone next to you when you're driving the car, because a permit just means that you can drive the car as long as you have supervision, like someone in the car with you. So I was like, I didn't know you could just buy a car with the permit. But of course, it was with all my friends. But because my friends are all Americans here, so they all like have their parents settle this for all of them. They just have their parents buy the car for them, and then the insurance would just be like with the parents and all that stuff. But I'm like new, right? I had no family here, just by myself, going to the car dealership and just like blink my eyes and hear all these people speak gibberish to me, and I'd be like, okay.
I feel like it's one of those situations you just have to go into somewhere and just ask, like, hey, help me out here. I really don't know what I'm doing.
I know. I got really lucky though with my the person who like introduced me to the cars, or like I don't know what you call them, like
the car dealer?
Yeah, I think
at
so.
At the dealership?
Yeah.
Yeah, the salesman.
The salesman, yeah. So, because some places I know, like, especially after COVID, the car prices here, like, it went up so much.
Yes,
like, the inflation.
Same back home in Australia.
It's ridiculous.
Just skyrocketed.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was like, buying cars is so expensive. My dad was like, you should have gotten it freshman year. I was like, okay, sorry. I should listen to you.
Yeah, well, we didn't know there was going to be this massive pandemic that was going to hit us.
Yeah, if I knew, I would have bought houses here. I would have bought all the cars. Now the prices would be so good to just sell them all off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, that's just hindsight bias, though.
I know, that's true.
Yeah. And so before we jump back to sort of how you got to Augie, you were very disrupted, as was I, but probably you even more so. So back in 2020, as the pandemic was hitting, during March, everyone at Augie was on spring break. And towards the end of the spring break, we got an email to say, hey, like, we're going to have another extra week of spring break because there's this pandemic that's going on. So don't rush back. And so that ended up being the reason why I went back home, because the campus just shut down after that extra week, after the massive high, like, oh, yes, like we get an extra week. But then we're realizing, this is serious. Like, we are not going to come back. We had to divert it to all the online studies. So I went back home, finished off the last 2 months. But for you said you went back home to Singapore and you spent that time, those 2 months, but then also the whole next year online as well, which I couldn't imagine that, because what makes college so great is being on campus and being surrounded by people. So what was that whole COVID year like for you?
Yeah, it was very interesting because my group of friends, we had a trip planned out to go to Chicago, if I'm not wrong, but it got cancelled because of COVID. So we couldn't go anywhere. So we stayed on campus. And then, like you said, we had that email and they were like, yeah, an extra week. But that extra week turned into infinite or undefined amount of time. So I ended up going back to Singapore. And then I think the usual quarantine for 2 weeks and all that stuff. And I continued my studies online. And then I tried to come back during my sophomore year. So like it ended up not having, like, flights were all like shut down. Airports weren't running because the whole pandemic was just affecting everywhere. So airlines wasn't flying people out and in and out of the country. And so I tried to, and I thought maybe after like a few months, so like let's say I left during the end of March, I arrived in April. It was like the J term of the following year, 2001. I tried to flights were starting to go back on, and I booked a flight trying to come back to Sioux Falls for J term, and then I think it was a morning flight. I remember this because I stayed up the whole night trying to pack, and so it was a morning flight, and then at midnight when I was packing, I received an email or like a message saying that flight got cancelled.
Oh, no.
So I was like, oh shit. I told my dad, and then I was like, so flight got cancelled. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. So we tried to rebook another one, which is like the same day, but I think a later morning flight. And then so we managed to get that. And then after that, when we woke up that morning off to go to the airport, that flight got cancelled. And so my dad was like, okay, fine. But we were already at the airport when it got cancelled. So we had like the luggage and everything. We're just at the
all ready to
at
go.
the gate. Yeah, just cancelled.
Already rebooked the flight that was already cancelled. Tried to get on another one.
It was, it was nice that I have friends who were trying to send me off because I think it was like a weekend or something like that. And so like while we were at the airport, my dad was like, okay, fine, we'll try to book another flight the same day. And it was like an evening flight. So we just stayed in the airport. Like Singapore's airport is pretty nice. So like
that's one of the best in the world. I haven't been there for a long time. I think last time I was in Singapore I must have been maybe 11 or 12 years old or so.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, it's probably changed a lot. Like,
yeah.
I don't mean to brag, but we do have one of the best airports there. It doesn't even look like an airport. It's
because there's like a whole indoor garden. Is that right?
Oh yeah, it's literally like a hot
waterfalls
spot.
and
all that stuff. Like it's like a hot spot for Singapore. Even like locals there, they go there on like family to have like dinner or lunch and like dates and all that stuff.
So they're not flying out anywhere.
Oh,
they
they're
just
not
go
going
and
anywhere.
hang out at the airport.
Yeah, really. It is like just a hot spot for locals and for like tourists. But highly recommend if you want to go to Singapore, just go to the airport. It's
great
really
place
cool.
to have at least a layover, if not like spend some time in the country. But all else failing, just go hang out at the airport for a little while. It'll be a good time.
Now there's a cinema in the airport. Like
Is there a cinema?
Oh, there's a cinema now. It's like there's a butterfly garden as well. It's literally a shopping district too, so you can shop there, and of course the food courts. So all the different cuisines you can eat there. It's a whole thing. It's a whole entertainment spot for people. I think it just recently opened up the new terminal too. So it's crazy. They keep expanding.
It's huge. Such a big hub.
I know, but yeah. Well, anyways, we got sidetracked, but yeah, we were at the airport. So we kind of just stayed in the airport in the morning, I think through lunch. I think it was, and then when it came to like flight, I think it was like an 8 o'clock flight. So it was like late afternoon. Got another message saying flight got cancelled.
Third time.
And then so my dad was just over it and he was like, you know what? Why don't you just wait to get the vaccine and then go back? And I was like, you know what? Fair, because they were giving priority to the elderly because they were more prone to the symptoms, and so then they had first like dips on the vaccine, and then the younger ones would get them later on. And so my dad was just like, you know what? Yeah, you're not going back this semester. Just take another. You might just take a whole gap year. And I was like, well, I wouldn't want to take a gap year and go back in late, so I'll just take online classes again. So I did a whole class for another semester online, which was really rough because some of the classes, I guess they did kind of ask, stating that it was like optional for me to take it like synchronous at the same time as them, but because of our time difference and daylight saving time, that kind of messed up with my sleep schedule. I think for the first semester, right after the fall semester of 2020, I did it like I had like my first class at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah, because I think it must be close to 12-hour difference.
Oh yeah, it was
completely flipped.
Yeah, and so like I'll be like in the Zoom call because like other people will be there, like have masks and all the protection, and I would just appear in the corner of the Zoom call with my face just there in class, or like sometimes I can't even see what the professor's writing on the blackboard, so I'll just kind of sit there at 10 p.m. at night, not knowing like my
Oh,
first
so they would
class.
set it up in the room, would they?
Yeah, they had like cameras and everything in like
Oh my
they used
gosh.
yeah. So like some classes was fine with the camera and all, but some classes like a chemistry class, taking an organic chemistry class
It's like,
online
oh,
was
we're putting this stuff in the test tube now and all this
yeah, I
stuff.
did lab completely on. I watch other people do lab and write my
Oh
lab
my
report
God,
on.
that sounds devastating, honestly.
It was not fun. I remember having to watch like a 30-minute. Well, at least it was nice because labs were like about 4 hours long. So, but because they like edited and like did the whole lab for you, it was just like a 30-minute long video. So, but at the same time, like, did I really gain anything from
Yeah,
that
but you
lab?
kind of do want that
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, I really did. I did miss lab though. Lab was one of my favorite things. Not like the lectures, because lectures are always so boring. But yeah, it was definitely fun to watch. Oh, fun sarcastically. To watch people or like the professors do the lab, and then I just had to write like a 20-page lab report on something that I didn't do, but pretended that I did.
Well, certainly I think that's a big decision to not take a gap year and to kind of continue on the studies, knowing that you won't be actually there in person as well.
Yeah, well, I felt like it was, I don't know, I felt like if I took a gap year, I probably would lose that motivation to keep going, especially if like my classes were so like, because sophomore year, the transition to like sophomore year is kind of like what has the most like core classes to whatever other higher electives you'll take. So if I took that gap year, I feel like I don't want to, I just probably would not want to go back to school. So I just continued doing it. But then it was nicer because the second semester, when they kind of got all the technology in place and everything, they recorded lectures now, so I could watch it at my own time
Oh,
instead of being
beautiful.
like
Yeah,
2
getting up
a.m. in
at
class and
2
just like
a.m.
watching someone talk about physics, I was like, what am I doing here, really?
Man, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And like, so because the classes did resume that year on the back half of 2020, so the new 2020 to 2021 school year, but it was the restrictions, like the country restrictions, which prevented you from going back. Was that right?
Yeah, well, it wasn't more like that, but more like there wasn't like any flights, I guess, because like every flight just kept getting cancelled, and of course Singapore was also more like of a stricter country with when it comes to like COVID and stuff. Like we had a lockdown like when COVID just like became like a real big thing. I think in 2020 they like had the lockdown for a really long time. I think like a good 3 months. So only family members could be in the house, and then like it became like one visitor a day, that kind of stuff. Or then when it became better, it was like 5 visitors a day, but the malls were still shut down. Like the only place you could go was the grocery store, and they even like limited people going to the grocery store. Well, they had like our because we all have a national ID, so you had to scan to go into the national, like, and then
Oh,
it had to be
really?
like, yeah. So like people with like your digit ending in even numbers, you would go on like the Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, whereas the people in the
Oh,
odds,
right.
yeah,
That's
it
pretty
was
strict.
strict, yeah.
I mean, we had it pretty rough in Australia too, but we probably didn't go to that level with the
yeah, the
the
IDs,
IDs.
yeah. Yeah, they also have like the temperature scanners in every like entry to the grocery store and stuff. I usually went like at midnight when wasn't a lot of people. And
You're
'cause-
probably just getting up to go to class
oh
at
yeah,
that
yeah,
time.
100%. Yeah, because I was also staying with my grandma because my grandma flew from Indonesia to Singapore because healthcare in Singapore is much better too. So she's like more like, she's like paranoid, right? So she like wants us to be like, oh yeah, when you go out, wear your mask, like she almost made me wear a raincoat out, even though it wasn't raining.
Oh my God.
I know she's that paranoid. I was like, okay, I just won't go out then.
Man, that's a
Yeah.
lot. That's a lot you've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Brittany, talk to me about Singapore a little bit, because from what I remember, well, we've talked about the airport being super iconic, and also another icon of Singapore is the zoo as well. I remember going to that as a little kid.
Oh really? Oh well, I haven't been to the zoo in a hot minute, but well, it's also been a while since I've been back to Singapore. But I think we have a really nice zoo. I think we have like 2 different types. We have like the day zoo, like the everyday normal Singapore zoo, and then we also do have like a night safari.
It was the night one that I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah, that one's, I like the night safari better too, because like it's in dark and all the endangered species are out and kind of stuff. So it was really fun. We do also have a bird park, like it's just birds. Like I mean, there are like some other animals inside, but mainly just birds. We also have a bird park. What other icons do we have? I don't know.
And so the culture itself, because last year off the back of my trip to Vietnam, I stayed in Malaysia for 5 days.
Oh.
And so I've got that sort of opened up my like geographic perspective a little bit more, because then I realized that Singapore is just underneath Malaysia.
Yeah, we used to be part of Malaysia. I think 80. I'm a terrible citizen, but I think 80 years ago. No, maybe less than that. Between 60 to 80 years ago. So we just recently gained independent as a country itself. But yeah, we used to be part of Malaysia, and then it's just a bridge away, really. Like, I think depending on where you stay, which part of Singapore you stay, you can like travel. Like from where I stay in Singapore, it's about like a 40-minute drive to Malaysia, to cross the borders to Malaysia.
It's very close.
Yeah, it's without traffic
but
and all.
Singapore isn't that big of a country, is it?
It's not. It's literally, you can't even see it on the map. It's like you have to find the words that spell Singapore to find it on the map. Yeah. But if you find Malaysia, it's just literally like below Malaysia, just there. Yeah. But yeah, Singapore is a really, really small. Whenever I tell them, at least people here, because like they think as a foreign student, I don't speak English. Oh
my God.
I mean, which is it's a safe assumption, you know. I mean, if you're not from like Australia or like the UK, it's like a usual, like they see an Asian, they'll be like, they probably speak a different language, which is true. But for Singapore, it's like kind of a special case because our first language is actually English.
Is it really?
Yeah. So we had all our education in English. We were required to take a second language based on our, like, I guess, ethnicity or mother tongue, but it is English. So when I came here, they're like, you speak really good English. I was like, I like to pretend I don't speak
so
good.
So do you. What's your point?
Exactly. So I was like, yeah, because, you know, my country speaks English. She's like, oh, is that so? And I was like, yes. I followed a lot of things because, like, Singapore didn't really gain, like fame, you know, like, because you don't like, oh, where's that? You know, when people ask, where's that? And I'll be like, I don't know. Why don't you make your pick? You know, and then they'll be like, they'll bring up things like China, Japan, Korea. And I was like, well, I guess Singapore, if you didn't watch Crazy Rich Asian, you wouldn't know where Singapore is, you know.
I haven't seen that show, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, every time I say I'm from Singapore, that's the first thing that people ask you. So like, are you rich? And it's like,
are you crazy?
Yeah, I was like, I don't think that's how that works, okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so what was your schooling like in Singapore?
It's a bit different, I realized, from the American system, because we have like, I really don't remember nursery and kindergarten much, but like I know like starting like first grade, they call it first grade here, but we call it primary. So we call it primary 1 through primary 6 would be like the elementary school here. And then so primary 1 to primary 6 would be grade 1 to grade 6, and that's will be just assigned to like a region, like a local neighborhood school, because they base off like where you stay kind of when they put you in the elementary school. And then afterwards, we call it the secondary school, which is like either a 4-year program, and now they've like implemented a new 6-year program. But I was in that 6-year program, and then it was like an accelerated thing. They kind of just jumped straight to like they combine secondary school and JC, junior college is what they call it, the last 2 years before you go into college. Or like you can take another, I don't know, the Singapore's education system is kind of like very branched out, like based on your academics especially. So after you're like 6th grade, right, let's say you finish 6th grade, they'll make you take this exam called, oh, why can't I remember what's the acronym for it? It's like a Singapore national exam, and I can't remember it at the top of my head, but it's like a big exam that every 6th grader would have to take. And then the basic things would be English, math, science, and your mother tongue. So like for me, I took Chinese because I'm Chinese. And then there we have Malay and Tamil as our other main mother tongue.
Yeah.
And then from that, we'll get like a score. It's basically almost like trying to apply to college but at grade school, because your secondary school is already kind of where they kind of segregate students based on their academic
so it's
levels.
based on that test that you take as to which high school you go to.
Basically, yeah. So like if you hit a certain, and then we get this really thick book of all the different schools that's located in Singapore, and they have like cutoff points, you know, like if you get this amount of score, you can apply to this school. But if you don't get like this certain score, you can try to apply to that school, but you may not get into that school. So they give you like a list. It was like a whole thing. I remember because like it was right before I went to Korea with my family for family vacation. So I had to put in all this information in. They make you make a list of your top 6 choices. And so I did something crazy where I was like, this is my first choice based on like the location as well as like my score. And then I did like a school that I may not get into and may not get into, and then everything was just kind of like, Luckily, I did get into my school of my first choice when I got a message when I was in Korea in the bus, and I was like, oh my God, I got into the school.
That must be a very stressful time, like for even kids at that young
I know,
age.
like imagine sixth grade thinking of like, it's like trying to apply to college, but when you're like 12 years old, you know? It's like, what is this? And you even get like a whole
Your
manual.
life is defined by where you go. That's sort of the message that we get fed, particularly at the end of high school.
Oh yeah, but then at grade
But
school.
that's just 6 years earlier as well.
Yeah, I think our education is pretty strict, I think. Yeah. So, but it was really helpful if you like travel overseas to like go into other things, because it made my like learning here, because the fast paced like education was so like ingrained in us that the transition from high school to college wasn't very like, well, at least to me it wasn't a very big jump. Definitely based on culture it was, but like education wise, like I could keep up with the classes, I could do that. Whereas like other people, they were like, if you didn't take like the AP credits and all that stuff, like in America, they like found trouble or like difficulty trying to catch up with the class like materials and all that stuff. But I was zooming through freshman is all I can say.
So did you have some of those sort of AP level classes that you took in Singapore?
I don't think we had those things, because like,
Well, so like, did you have credits when you came into
oh yeah,
Augie?
I did bring in credits, yeah, that's for sure, because I know like we like I say, once you go into like your like high school, like secondary school and high school, like they already kind of like have a certain route where you're gonna go to, and so you have to take like this O-level exam, which is after your four years of like middle school, they call it here. Then you can apply to a JC, the junior college, and all that stuff. So yeah, very interesting. But then I took the 6-year program, so they combined secondary school and junior college together. But I didn't finish my education in Singapore. Actually, I
You
did
didn't
it.
finish.
I didn't
So
finish.
you don't have a high school certificate.
I do have a high school certificate, but it's not in Singapore. So, because my family's kind of all branched out all over the place, so me and my sister, we are like first generation Singaporeans. So my parents were immigrants, but they became permanent residents after working or like applying for it for like in Singapore. So
The immigrants from China?
I don't know. I actually don't know. My dad was like we have like a very complicated like family background. My dad was born in Taiwan, but he studied like all over. He studied in Indonesia. I think he studied in Taiwan. He studied in Indonesia. And then he went to college in the United States, and then he went back to Asia, I think, for work or whatnot. And then my mom's Thai, so but I don't know what her. I know she went back to college after she had me and my sister. But yeah, she was.
Oh, that's very
Oh
complicated.
yeah,
then.
it's like kind of all
The
branched
family
out.
seems to be all over the place, studying here, studying there,
Yep.
having kids there.
So I ended up going to Indonesia for my high school. So I didn't finish. I think I just finished my 4th year or my 3rd year of like the middle school, high school in Singapore, and then I went to Indonesia, and I took the IB system over there.
The International
Back
Baccalaureate.
yeah. So I did that in Indonesia because my grandma was there and my sister was also over there. So we kind of just transitioned there. So I took my last 2 years of high school there, and that's why I could bring in credits from my IB scores.
Oh, terrific. What part of Indonesia were you in?
I was in Surabaya because we had family there. Like my dad's youngest brother, or like he only has one younger brother, was born in Indonesia. So, like I said, family's kind of all over the place, yeah. And my grandma stays there, so we stayed with her, and then we just kind of stayed there for the next 2 years until I graduated high school there, and then came here for college.
So I was just going to ask, so Indonesia was sort of where you made connections to Augie.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how did that sort of unravel?
Well, my dad always had intentions because he studied in the States, so he really he wanted to even stay here, but I think my grandma kind of made him go back after college.
Fair enough.
Oh yeah. So she's like, you're just gonna abandon your mother in this country by myself? Take care of who? So I know, Asian families, right? But,
Crazy rich Asians.
Oh yeah, we're all crazy. I mean, we're not rich, but we're definitely crazy. Oh, but I think my dad and my uncle like very big advocates about studying in the States, you know, because they both studied in the States, so they really wanted me to. And I think I was at least my father's side, I was the eldest of my cousins, so they really wanted me to apply to the States. I was like, I guess I didn't
Sort of like paved the way for everyone
yeah,
else.
because I was like, I really like, because I didn't have any big like plans or what I wanted to do in college, you know. So because I really didn't know what you're just 18 years old. You're asking me like, what big boy or big girl decisions do you want to make? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what's good for me.
It's a tough one. I think we're still, most people, even after college, but especially after high school, we're still very unsure of what we actually want to do with our future.
Yeah, so I was like, I guess if you like, my dad was like, okay, why don't you try going to the States? And then if you like it, you can stay there for all the years. If not, you can always come back. He says that, right? Because he knows I'm gonna like it. And he was right. I did stay here. I guess not all 4 years because of COVID, of course, but like I did stay and I did come back. Yeah.
So was it your dad that had a connection to Augie?
Well, not really. It was kind of interesting. I know every time I gave a tour, because I also worked here at Augie as an at the admissions as a tour guide and all this stuff. So if new students want to join Augie, I'll give them a tour of campus and give them like a breakdown. It's like an hour tour.
Yeah, that was your junior year, was it?
Yeah, that was my junior year. So then they always ask me, so like I'll be like, oh, do you guys have any questions before we end the tour? And then the most commonly asked questions I get, because I'm as a foreign student, they'll be like, how do you find Augie? Or like, what made you join Augie?
That's what, everyone asks me that too. Like, how did you end up here?
Right? You're from Australia, and then you find all the way in the middle of nowhere, but this like nice little city, this town, it's like cold, but like, I was like, you see, the funny thing is, because like for me, how I did it was when you apply to schools, like online, I applied to like a lot of schools, right, in the United States. And then sometimes in your email, or like after you take the SAT or the ACT, in my email, I received like a oh, you apply to this school, it's free. And I was like, it's free, I'm just going to apply. So that's what I did. And I heard back from this school. And then I think it was my spring break during my senior year of high school, I think. Because my dad frequents the States every year, so he was like, oh, why don't we just bring you to like look at the different colleges that like accepted you and all that stuff. So came all the way here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
You came for an in-person visit.
Oh, I did, yeah, because like he was gonna come to the States anyways, and I was also having my holiday at the same time, and also because the flight prices were really cheap, my grandma was like, premium, we can see premium economy for only $1,200. Go, round flight. So it became like, I think it was me, my grandma, and my dad. We all came. I was just 3 of us, but we all came.
And so you had a few schools that you were checking out?
Yeah, I did look at some schools in like, I think, where were we? We were in New York, so like the East Coast for sure. I think West Coast, because my dad was from the West Coast, not from the West, but he studied in the West Coast. Like he studied in Portland, Oregon. So there was that, and then because there was not a lot of schools that did in-person visits, especially, I don't know, maybe because of like the weird timing, because it's like spring break, so everyone might have been like gone home.
So, right, that seems pretty odd to me. I thought they would always just sort of be welcome to, especially international students who have traveled a long way to come for a visit.
Well, I would like to say, I don't know if this is, will I get cancelled, but you know Wade, do you remember Wade?
Yeah, of course.
He was also one of the reasons why I joined Augie, because like I looked at other schools, they were nice, they were definitely bigger and all, but like I think it was like, for me, I'm a very people person, so I base like where I want to go based on the culture. So when I came here, like even though it was like a small town, but it was like people were really friendly, and it was like a smaller community, which I enjoy. I think I would prefer like a smaller college as compared to a big one, where like everyone just kind of know everyone on a superficial level, whereas like over here, you can make like really strong connections.
Here at Augie, we sort of like, at the very least, we brush shoulders with everyone.
Oh, yeah.
But like we often get to have really good relationships with just about everyone.
Yep. So I really enjoyed that kind of community, like having to know, well, it is like there's pros and cons to knowing everyone, but like definitely like you get to form more like stronger friendships and bonds with the people you meet here. And it's not just kind of like the hi and bye kind of thing, So yeah, I think that's one of the things. And Wade was really super nice about like having me over, and then they made it really convenient also, because not a lot of schools, especially if you have like a lot of students coming in, of course they get busy, but like Wade always like prioritized like different students with their different needs and all that stuff. And then the IPO, the International Programs Office, were always very helpful and accommodating for like foreign students, especially even if you're not planning to join Augie, they were like super nice about it too. So, I don't know, maybe I got scammed into joining this school, who knows? But I did stay for all 4 years.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that by itself says something. And I think that impression that sort of Wade helped you get of this school, I mean, that's a pretty big deal, that you're looking at these other big schools and Wade just sort of helped show you like, hey, this place is really awesome. It's a great community and can be a great fit for you.
Yeah, which was really nice. I think mainly the people here were the main reason why I joined. And then of course, like when you do a school visit, there'll always be like the other like sections of it, like a tour of the school, and then there's like a practical lecture you can sit in just listening to like. Because I sat in like I don't know what school I sat in, but like I remember walking to the lecture, like it was things I've already learned in high school or I'm learning in high school, but the professor was doing such a bad job. I just sat there and I was like, I could do a better job.
Yeah, I could go up there and teach you better.
Exactly. So I was like, I don't want to like this school is nice and all because they had like a cheer and dance team too. Because that was also another thing I was looking for. But like I was like, I don't know if I can like I don't know if it's gonna be helpful for my education and whatnot. But over here, because like I was planning to come in with a chemistry degree, so I was definitely looking at also like the equipments and all the instruments and all that stuff. And I think I heard that they recently renovated when I was still like touring the school. They say, oh yeah, the science center was just recently renovated, and then when I toured it, it was really nice to have
So
all this fancy equipment
Yeah,
and
no,
all.
the Froylan Center, when I was a freshman, they had just finished building that.
Mhm.
So
And but it was-
when did you actually do that tour?
I think I did it just when I think they said it was like when I had the tour guide told me it was like renovated 3 to 4 years ago. So it was like so I think it's like when you were a freshman
Yeah, I must have
probably
been walking around campus somewhere.
yeah, I bet because when I heard that I was like, oh my gosh. It was really nice because all the lights the inside was so modern, all the instruments and like you can play around with all the little gadgets. For a small college, it's very rare. That's why I was like, oh my god, all of these fancy schmancy things in a small college. And they also did like research for undergraduates, which not like a lot of graduate school do that, but not a lot of undergraduate school like provide opportunities or like the funding for students to do like a summer research program and all that stuff. So there was a lot of like opportunities for me to like I guess accelerate in my academics outside of just like the people here, of course. So that's why I ended up choosing Augie.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, everything you've just described, I think is a great reason to
Mm-hmm.
have come here. And so you had this drive to study chemistry. Where did that come from?
See, that's also another funny thing I like to come when I tell my people. It's like, so why chemistry? Why not become a doctor of biochemistry? I thought to myself, because when I was I had to take all three sciences, right, in middle school, like chemistry, biology, and physics. I really hated physics and I hated memorizing biology. So I didn't really say I have a passion for chemistry, but it was because I have an intense hate for the other sciences that chemistry was the only path I could take. I did like math a lot, but I didn't see a future with math. It's the Asian like ingrained like you have to have a future kind of thing. Be in a science. Math will give you no money.
There's no future in mathematics?
Well, I don't know what jobs would be open besides like academic or like I was like I actually don't know.
Probably just become a math teacher or something.
Yeah, right. But I
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if I have the passion for teaching people. Like I do like teaching people, but I have this tiniest bit of patience in me. Like I'm not. My sister always cries whenever I tutor her, and she's like, "You still always scold me when I can't do math."
You're
And I was
just a
like,
hard teacher.
"Yeah." I was like, "I don't think I'm cut out for teaching because like I have zero patience, like none." Ooh,
Although I'm a strong believer, if you're going to teach something, make sure that you've spent like at least a decent amount of time in the field, actually hands-on practical work in that sort of field of study. And I think that's why the professors here at Augie are so great as well, because they have spent decades in their fields and then they come back and for a lot of them, it's just teaching out of pure passion.
I know, yeah. I really respect professors, honestly, because like the amount of people, like there's like some students who are like good students, and then there's some like they bring in that high school mentality with them into college, and I'm just like, let the professors trying their best, because I like sometimes I'll hear like students not doing their homework and stuff. Like you're an adult, right? Like you should like at least take responsibility for like the things that like
Yeah,
they're paying good money.
they're getting you to do all this stuff because, I mean, there's a clear reason for it. Even if you have to write a 10-page paper, well, there's actually a reason behind that. They
Yeah.
want you to be thinking and really just dive into the field.
Yeah, because I know like some exams, like especially like the foundational classes where like it's required for like freshmen to take, like let's say you're a business major but you have to take a science class, that kind of stuff. They make you like take it, and then some people just don't do it. Like like you walk into an exam and obviously you would try your best. Some people just look at the exam paper and just like pen in blank sheets, and I was like, wow. And so like as a professor, if I was a professor and I saw that, I was like, wow. I'd be so mad.
I'd just kick them out of the class.
Yeah,
If you're not
yeah.
willing to actually show up, because the professor's putting in effort too.
Mm-hmm. So I say to be like any sort of profession in the teaching like field, hard respect. Really, I can't do it. I personally can't do it.
Okay, so this Asian drive for having to have a future of some sort, where did you see that with chemistry?
Well, I feel like chemistry is very applicable to like almost everything really, because like I know there's chemistry in biology, but there's also chemistry in physics. So at least if I did want to dabble between like those two fields, like having that chemistry background would definitely be beneficial. And so like, because if I did like pure physics, right, I want to like revert back, because I like to play it safe, if that makes sense. So having that chemistry where I can still like go off track if I want to go into biology, or like go off track if I want to go to physics. But if I were to take like just bio or like physics, it's hard to like change my like track, if that makes sense. Yeah. So chemistry was the route I ended up going for. I did pick up like a few minors. I picked up a math minor when I was in Augie, because I did like math. So that's probably the most stereotypical Asian thing I've done. But
Yeah, it's handy to put in a minor or two in there. So yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of professors, did you have any particular favorite professors?
I don't know. I hope they don't see this because they'll know who my favorite professors are. But I do like most of my chemistry professors are really nice, and like they're super goofy too, which I like the most because nerds and all. We kind of unite together. My favorite one, of course, would be Dr. Duffy, because she's a brutal like teacher. Like when it comes to grading, everything, she's brutal. But like outside of like the lectures and everything, she's really nice. In fact, she was one of the people who helped me get my first car. Cause like
Is that right?
yeah, cause I didn't have a job then, right? So how like the paperwork would be like, how can you afford this car? Like how, like what, with what money? And I was like, well, I did save up, but because my dad was also telling me to build credits here, because like in America, credits is so important. So like I didn't have anything then. So I needed a co-signer in order to loan a car. And then so I like texted all the people, like all the adults that I knew, and one of them was like my professor. So I asked her, I was like, very, very out of the blue, but do you want to be my co-signer for my car? Or are you willing to do that? And she like replied almost immediately, which was really nice. I felt
Really?
so grateful. Yeah, I was about to cry because the market here for cars like come and go so quick. So if you miss the opportunity, you that car that you want gone, and you would have to like keep doing the searching for a new car. And it's just I'm too stressed for that. Even though I'm doing nothing over the summer, I'm just like I just want one less thing to worry about, because I was
for
like,
sure.
yeah, because I was like worried. I was like emailing like Heather from IPO. I was like, when's my visa or like my OPT gonna get approved? She's like, I don't know. It'll come when it comes. And I was like, okay.
Well, that's great. Dr. Duffy,
Dr. Duffy.
she was so willing to actually help you. I think
Yeah.
that's just a great example, because for me personally, I very much found that the professors here would be more friendly and open to you, not just like in the class marking your papers and telling you to do homework, but you could often stop by their office. They'd have the door open. You can just come in and have a chat, help with, coursework, or even just chat about other things, whether it's careers, or in your case, you've got like a co-sign for a car loan as well. So
Yeah, and she's also like one of those professors who will be like cause like when like during those like short breaks, like Thanksgiving break or fall break, and like you can't really leave the country for like a long time, but you also can't really go anywhere. She'll invite students to come over to have dinner at her house, and then just like do like a little small talk. And then because I also joined the dance team my junior year, so she'll come and watch all my showcases. Sometimes she'll just come and support me at the football game and basketball game. So that was really nice. She's almost like a second mother to me here,
that's so fantastic.
I know, yeah. So she's like a supportive mom, side mom. She's like, you need to let me know. I'm very busy, but I'll make time for you. But so she's really, really very sweet. Really enjoy her.
I think that's what makes Augie so great, and that's, I think, part of the Augie advantage is that just the care and the connectedness that we have with each other as students, but also with our professors as
Yeah,
well.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very special, and I think that's what I very much like about this place, and catching up with people. I've had so many great reactions just dropping into people's offices and
Oh, really?
catching up with people, and they're just over the moon to see me, which
Right.
I mean, that's how I feel, like enthusiastically towards that, and then they receive that and they sort of push it back at me. It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
It really makes me feel like good and appreciated and sort of valued.
See, that's also why I chose Augie. Because when like you're like a high school student and I toured the school. Like some schools make you feel like very alienated. This one just welcomed you with open arms, and so I was like, this is the right school, I think. So yeah, and then of course throughout my years, I made a lot of good friends here, and it's not just like limited to the year that you have. Like I said, like how I knew you, like even though you were like a senior, but I was a freshman, we still knew each other, kind of stuff. So like I was like I became friends with people from different grades, not just like from my own like chemistry group, but I also meet people in the dance team. I meet people outside in extracurriculums. So just like having people I think is the one of the strong points of Augie.
100%.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Well, let's talk about the dance then. How did that come about?
So I've always been very passionate about dancing, but if I knew they had a dance team here, I would have just joined my freshman year. But I didn't know that. So when I came and I was like, oh, and then people were telling me how I thought we just had a cheer team. I didn't know we had a dance team. I think that was also like a very new thing that they just like made. And so like I saw like, oh, then they had a whole audition online. So I did my audition online
It was
during
online?
COVID. Yeah,
Oh
because
my
it was
gosh.
COVID. So like I like submitted like I submitted like a video of me doing like there will be like a set things that you have to do, and then there will be like a freestyle or do like your favorite type of dance. You get like a minute, 30 seconds and all that stuff. So I just did it online, sent it in, and I got in my sophomore year, but because I couldn't come back, so I had to do like all our trainings in like it's really funny because they had their meetings at 8 p.m. So I wake up at like 7 a.m. to have their meetings with them, and I'll be like over there with my bloodshot eyes, my eye bags just out
Just
of bed.
rolling out of bed.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Hi guys, I'm here.
Yeah, and then we have to learn routines, and I'm just like on the Zoom call. Well, it also helped because most of them were also on Zoom because COVID then was still like pretty bad. So like we didn't really have I think football was cancelled the entire season on sophomore year, and basketball games too. So that there wasn't really a lot of like in-person activities, which was I guess lucky for me. So they only really have like in-person activities when I came back during my junior year. So it was nice to know that I didn't really like miss out on a lot. If no,
Okay, so you had
yeah.
that year that you could kind of practice by yourself.
Yep,
Get
for
up
sure.
to speed so you could be nice and ready when you come back to your junior year.
I think my coach was like cause the delay in communication too, because like I don't use Facebook very often, and so when I tell them like, oh, I do plan to come back junior year, but like my coach didn't know whether I was coming early because like we have training before the school year starts. So I showed up to camp like jet lag. But because my coach messaged me, like, but I was in the airport, I was flying, right? Like it takes about 24 hours, like almost 24 hours in flight total to get to Sioux Falls from my home country.
Yeah, it's a long way.
Yeah, so like when I'm in the air, I don't receive any messages. I can't do anything. So when I showed up, she was so shocked. She was like, oh, you actually came for camp? I thought you were not going to join us anymore. So I showed up and she was like, okay, yeah. And so yeah, she had a shock of her life, but yeah. But I really do enjoy like the dancing. I learned like a new style because like cheering at football games and basketball, it's not a very common thing in Asia because when you're a dance team, you just do dance, right? You don't go to games and do all that stuff. Like you just do dance and dance only. So you compete
You do competitions though, yeah?
Yeah, I did competitions back in Singapore. Actually, in Indonesia as well, I joined like a dance team. Not my school. Like I did my school dance team as well as something outside. So I competed with that, and then yeah, so it's very, very different, I guess, the style of dancing. So, but it was a good opportunity to like, I guess, as a like my dancer, like one of those like ingrained characteristics or qualities, at least my coach instilled in me was like having good discipline. So like for me, like I don't discriminate against a certain genre of dance just because I'm not good at it, you know? So I always enjoy learning a new type of dance. It like broadens my perspective and my experience, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting that you could slot in and do the dancing here. And from my perspective as an athlete on the basketball team for a couple of years, I mean, I love the US sport culture. It's
Yeah.
just, I think, well, I mean, I can't say it's the best in the world because I haven't experienced it ever in the world, but I mean, it is just phenomenal how seriously they take their sport. And then just to create that game atmosphere, even from like high school level, you've got all the cheerleaders doing their performances. And then here at Augie, we had like the dance team and the cheer team as well, just to really create that in-game atmosphere.
Yeah, it was my first time being on the field. I've never felt so tired. Like I was like satisfied, but at the same time, like I didn't know what to expect, right? Because first time on the field, don't know anything about American football. Just stood there and there were so many rules.
Trying to cheer them on, but you don't actually know what's going on.
Yeah, so I just kind of follow what JC. JC was one of my seniors in dance, so I just kind of follow her lead, did what she did, just listen to my upperclassmen. Whoever has more experience in the dance team, I will just follow. So yeah, I did gain a lot of like good advice. I hear a lot of good advices from my upperclassmen, and like I think it's just a good way of making new friends too, who have the same like hobbies and passion as someone who is like in the dance team. Because like if you're there in the dance team, means you have a passion for like dancing, right? So it's just a good way of making more new friends, and like trying to, I don't know. It's like a special, like a sub family, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if we suffer together.
Did you guys have a table at the Commons that you'd all sit together in the dance team?
Sometimes if it's after dance practice, like because we usually have dance practice during the dinner, the dining hall time. So like dinner is like 5 to 7. We have practice then. So sometimes, but the dining hall doesn't close till 8. But then everyone would leave the dining hall by like 7 o'clock. So we wouldn't say we have a table, but we would sit together and like we just take up one whole table. But yeah, outside of that, yeah.
Because I did find that in the cafeteria that everyone was sort of segmented into their own different groups, like you would see in the Hollywood movies, where you've got the jocks, the football players, the basketball players, all the track athletes, and all the other student athletes, and then you've got a group of international students.
Oh yeah,
sort of like the nerds, and then the dance team's thrown in there as well.
Yeah, well, I guess it's more like special because like I guess it depends on the timing, but I do see a lot of segregation because there's always like the designated football table. I definitely see like all the different athlete like groups also, like usually they're all like located at the end side of the cafeteria, so like the football will have that designated 2 tables there, and then I know baseball also has their 1 table that they always go to. I think
it's just unwritten rule that's sort of their table.
Yeah, and then like international students, I always see them always together too. Because I guess like during the orientation, we will make friends early on during then. So I guess that's why they feel more like friend and like kinship with people who from the international group. But yeah, also I didn't tell you, but my sister's now a freshman in Augie.
Is she really?
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
Well, it's nice to have a family member now around. So yeah, she's now packing stuff because winter break. So she's gonna come and move in with me.
Oh, that's great. Well, because you still stayed in the area after you graduated.
Yeah.
Is that because of her?
Oh, I guess it was more like convenience, and like I also didn't know, like I still don't know what I want to do, right? So like it's one of those things where like, oh, since I've like made friends here, and like some of my friends are one of my closest friends are all underclassmen, and they're still be in the area. It's just easier for me to find like housing because I have like connections here, as well as like help because the IPO is always here and they're always very helpful.
Especially with things like work visas and OPT.
Yep, definitely. Like if it wasn't for them, I think I'd be lost in the sauce. That's for sure.
Lost in the sauce.
Yep.
The support system that the IPO offers is really great. And just all those really technical things like the whole visa applications and all that stuff is just so confusing. So actually having someone there to help you is such a huge deal.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the IPO is wonders. They work wonders. They will make magic happen.
So then, does that mean you only have 1 year that you can work in the States for?
So I think because I'm one of the STEM,
Oh, you're STEM, of course.
Yeah, so I get 3 years, but I do like have to do the reapplication again after the first year. So the OPT is like for the first year, and if you want to extend it, I think they'll just give it to you for the additional 2 more years. So STEM get like 3-year work visa, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And you're gonna make the most of that?
Hopefully, because I do plan to go to grad school, but I was thinking because I started working and I was like, it doesn't make sense for me to like only work for less than a year and then go to grad school. So I was thinking of extending for another year, so to get more like work experience as well and kind of know which like field I want to get into. So before I like actually commit to another further study, which is gonna be more like specialized. So yeah, I will make full use of that 3-year work visa, hopefully.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's great. And you've been working in the lab as a lab assistant.
We mainly do like lab draws when like patients come in to get like lab, but like it is when it's busy, it gets busy all at once is all I can say.
Yeah, totally. And you've been enjoying working in that sort of environment?
So far, so good. I remember like the typical like the first week is always so stressful because like you walk in, new face, new environment, and then that like I work at the clinic. It's not like the main hospital. It's definitely like a smaller body of people, and everyone there is sort of like varying different characteristics. There's like middle-aged people, like whole new lives than you know, like they have kids and stuff, and I'm just here like fresh out of college, like
Hey guys, let's go. I'm
yeah,
here.
yeah. So like I
Bringing
was
the
like,
energy.
yeah, really. I was just like, I don't know, like how do I act? Do I act like buddies with them, chums, you know? But like, cause in Asia, like age gap is like a very like how you show respect in different age
Yes.
gaps and stuff.
Yep.
So like, I was like, I don't know if I should. Like, I guess I would respect you as a person, but like, how formal and informal can I be, or like how casual can I talk to you? You know? Yeah.
That's an interesting dynamic to
Uh-huh.
navigate.
It's I'm always like drawing the line first before like, so especially when you're like training, you're just learning, you're just like following the rules. But like after you get used to the workflow and everything, you kind of just let loose, and now you kind of should let your personality show a bit and all that stuff. So now I'm getting to know the people at my workplace, which is really nice. They're all really super sweet. And yeah, I think because of them, I do enjoy work too. Like some days it can get really boring, but you know, that's work, right?
Yeah, I feel like no matter what you do, I think there's always just those days that you kind of just have to grind through and just push to get
Yep,
through them.
Yep. And when we do that, everyone's also feeling the same way. Everyone just wants to go home.
So, Brittany, favorite question coming up.
Kind of scared.
If you could give your experience at Augie a letter grade, what would it be?
Ooh. I don't know. A letter grade?
We're so used to receiving letter grades, but now is your chance to actually give one out.
I know. Ooh. I guess higher up in the B's, I would give an A minus. Mainly, this is nothing to do with like education or anything here, but mainly because of the weather.
The weather?
I am a very tropical girl. I do like the beach a lot, but like the cold, the cold is nice and all, but it has to go after a few months. Like for it to still snow in April, it's a bit much
It does
for me.
linger around. The
Yeah.
winters here I think they go for about 7-8 months
Mhm.
sometimes.
It's like literally, I think like the locals here like to say we only have 2 seasons here: winter and construction. Because over the summer the roads are just totally like
They're
pots
just
everywhere.
annihilated. Yeah,
Yep.
potholes all from just the destruction that winter brought.
And I think literally like the construction just ended. Like the main roads and all the intersections were just fixed recently. Like over the summer, I like trying to learn how to drive over the summer was brutal too.
Boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom. All
literally.
through the potholes.
I know, and it's sometimes because I'm short, right? So I can't see like very far down in my car. Sometimes, like even with the seats all adjusted and everything, it's like just some limitations. I have to lean forward. Like every time I have to look where the traffic's coming, I have to lean forward to look left and right. It's like one of those typical stereotypical Asian drivers. It's
gosh.
just like where am I driving? But yeah.
So the weather brings it down a little bit. Is there anything else that sort of brings the experience down?
I don't I guess transportation wasn't much of an issue because I stayed on campus most of the time. But like definitely like because where I come from, public transport was so easy. Like
Oh,
you could
yeah.
just go anywhere, anytime you want. Okay, maybe not anytime, but it's just so easy because like there's buses all around, there's like subways all around. So definitely like getting used to like having to go like if I need to go get groceries, it wasn't just walking distance kind of thing. Like you actually need
Do you
a
have
car
to
or like a
get
vehicle.
car?
Yeah.
I mean, often you just can like normally find someone else on campus to help take
Yeah,
you.
usually, but it's always because like I know like I think it's also another Asian thing. I don't know if it's just me, but like I feel very bad like disturbing other people or like inconveniencing other people. But like after a while, I like found like good friends who are willing to take me and all that stuff. I got less shy because you know at the beginning of the year you're just kind of like I don't want to like inconvenience.
I think I understand that too.
Yeah,
but I
I-
think some of the time people are just down to hang out anyway.
Oh,
So it's
yeah,
like, let's just
yeah.
go to Walmart. Let's just go do this. Why not?
It took me a while to get there. Like they're just so like proactive and they're always like impromptu. They love this kind of stuff. They're just like okay, yeah, let's go. I'm down. Let's go.
Yeah. And so, well, what brought it up? The dancing was great.
Mm-hmm.
The classes were really good too.
Yep. And I think I definitely think the people here were also really nice. Like there's also a diversity here. So which is like pretty rare for a small town, especially in South Dakota. So I think it's nice that like you're from Australia, I'm from Singapore. Like how what are the chances you finding these kind of people in this small town in Sioux Falls,
Exactly.
South Dakota?
Next to nothing.
I know, literally. And I also think that like just because it's a small town, like you have to find your like community if that makes sense. So like even they try to include a lot of diversity, like events and all that stuff. They celebrate Chinese New Year. There's like parades downtown, all that stuff. So I think even though it's a small town, I think it's like there's always something happening. And then it's also like if you want to go to like neighboring cities, it's not not too bad of a drive away. It's like at what 3-4 hours, maybe something the further ones 6-8 hours. But other than that,
They're all considered short drives
oh
here.
yeah, I know. When I first when my roommate offered to pick me up, right, and I was like, oh, do you stay in Sioux Falls? When I first arrived in Sioux Falls, she was like, oh, it's just an hour drive from my place, and I thought to myself, in Singapore, an hour drive, you can like from one end of Singapore to the other end of Singapore is in an hour with traffic. So I was like, an hour long, like that's a lot. Like for me at least, because Singapore is so tiny, you can just get to places like with a car, one end of Singapore to the other end, and that's the whole stretch of Singapore. So that an hour drive was a lot for me. But after like living here, now 3-4 hours is nothing.
Exactly. I think you do just kind of get used to it.
Yep,
That's
yep.
just how everyone gets around instead of flying. Like, well, we'll just do a 4-hour road trip or a 6, 8, 10, whatever.
Yep. They're like, oh yeah, the 10-hour drive, we can split 50-50. You take 5, I'll take 5.
Yeah,
It's like,
we'll
oh my
get there
God.
in no time.
Yeah. So that's nice, yeah.
And so, Brittany, is there any advice that you could give to an international student who wants to come and study in the US? Maybe from one of those Asian countries near Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia?
Advice.
Because the cultures are quite different.
I would say try to join as many I wouldn't say as many extra curriculum, but more like those extra curriculums where you get to meet people or go to events. There's always events happening on campus on the weekends, like the Friday nights with UBG, which is one of our student organizations here. They like have movie nights, they have like carnival nights. That's when you meet the most people, and or join like a sports club, like those kind of like very casual sports club, like the volleyball club. Like there's always people playing volleyball here every time. Yeah. So if you would pick up a sport, pick up volleyball, because here people love volleyball. They
Yes,
eat that stuff
I used to
up.
love playing
Oh, yeah.
volleyball here.
Especially during the summer when it's hot and the weather's nice out. Every day, sand volleyball, if
Yeah,
not
sand
in the
volleyball.
court. Yeah.
Or even mud volleyball if you're into that.
So I would say if you want to pick up a sport, it would be volleyball. But join whatever opportunity you see, like join them, like orientation, be it orientation or like some kind of event. I would say that's when you meet the most kind of people, and like you won't always, because I didn't find my people like my first like month or so. It took me a while before I like actually warmed up to people here too. So you'll eventually find your people. Just give it time is the advice that I'll give international students. So yeah. Don't rush it. Just trust the process.
Very great advice. Thank you, Brittany. And as you've just mentioning that sort of some of the events on campus, it sort of sparked a memory for me. And also talking about the dancing, I remember the IPO would always put in an international talent show.
Yeah.
And so after talking about the dancing, I remember that you used to perform during that.
Yes, I am. Looking back, I'm kind of embarrassed, but I did slay those performances. I think
100%. You were brilliant.
I know. I think if I'm not wrong, I did perform right after you did or before you did perform, like when you also in the talent show. I remember because you
Was
guys
that
did a dance
in the
too.
back alley?
Yeah, in the back alley. Yeah.
I performed with the Latino gang.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
With, I
That's
think
what I remember.
the Ecuadorians, Denise, Andrew, I think Eduardo from Honduras, and Lindsay as well.
I remember that because like after that I performed and you guys like, wow, Britney, way to put us down. And I was like, I didn't know you guys were
Because
gonna.
I mean, Denise and Andrew are great dancers, but I think the rest of us were still trying to find our feet, and then you just come in and just light up the stage.
Well, I guess also because like I wasn't at that time. I wasn't like really like out about dancing, like because people don't really know. When you first see me, you don't think of like me as a dancer. That's what a lot of people say. It's like you don't look like a dancer, but like I really do enjoy dancing. Even if I'm bad at it, I'll still dance. So I just got better with practice, I guess. I feel like everyone can dance. It's just like how much dedication you put into putting like, and of course your passion for it, right? But yeah, I know when I dance, everyone was just like, no way, because I was thinking about not being part of the talent show, but my friends was like, Brittany, come on,
Brittany, you got some real talent. You got to get out there.
Yep. I was like, you know what harm can I do, right? So I went up there. I don't even remember what I performed. I know it was some K-pop stuff. I remember because I was very into K-pop then. Oh.
I just remember, you just did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
So that just sort of like, just jogged my memory.
One of those like, whoa, Brittany does that, right?
Yeah,
right?
I think it's such an awesome hidden talent to have. Just be
Thank
like, hey
you, thank
guys,
you.
like I can own this stage up here.
I'll take that as a very nice compliment. Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, has there been any memories for you that have sort of sparked up as we've been talking you'd like to share?
Well, I guess I did, like, after that freshman year, I gained confidence. That's also why I joined the dance team, because like I saw like all the different genres of dance that they do, and it's like not something I'm familiar with. But so I was like not confident enough for me to join. But I was like, you know what? What's the harm? At most I get rejected, right? So I ended up going into the dance team, and then the next few years I did join the talent show every year. I was still hoping to win something, but
You didn't win.
I didn't win. I know. Even in my senior year, I think they changed it out. Like there was a winner every year until my senior year, where they like made everyone a winner.
Gosh, we're not going in that direction,
I
are
know.
we?
Oh yeah, no, they definitely did that. They were like everyone gets like a free like something, or like a Starbucks card. I remember eating that Starbucks cup up every day because like I didn't drink coffee until I came into college, right? So that was like one of the things. That's like, why am I always so sleepy in the day, but like after I buy my Starbucks drink, I can't sleep at night. And I was like, oh, that's why, because I always have a late Starbucks coffee.
Always in the afternoon to keep you charging.
Yep, and then I'll go to bed at like 2 a.m. and then having to show up to my 8 a.m. the next day and be like, oh my God, what is this?
Then just down another coffee and the whole cycle just keeps going.
Yeah. Oh, I also remember having to get used to the weather here. I remember I was the only one in winter, like coats, when it was only fall. I remember going to the Black Hills trip. I think I was the only one.
Like all rugged up.
Yep, I
Because it
got
was
zipped up.
cold, but maybe for some of the locals, maybe not so much.
I know for them, they're like, this is nice, just sweaters on. I was like, I'm freezing over here. I don't know what you guys are on, but I'm cold.
I think that's the funniest thing too, because during spring, after we've had, 6, 7, 8 months of winter, where it has been freezing cold, even when it's still Fahrenheit or Celsius, when it's still below freezing point, people will still wear like
Shorts.
t-shirts around
I've seen
campus.
shots, like people just bare legs out. I was like, it is freezing out here. I don't know what.
But I think it's just, I don't know, maybe the body's just had enough of that long winter and just like, you know what, it's actually not that cold.
I think so. I think they're just used to it. Or they like to say, it's like, yo, I just suck it up. It's like, I'll just suck it up and just walk. I'm so lazy. It's just a short walk anyway. So I was like, I think one time my friend always made fun of me because she remember my freshman year, I come into my math class, my noon math class, and I have 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 sweater, and then I have another 3 layers underneath. And she's like, how many layers are you wearing? I was like, I have a t-shirt on, I have a sweater on, I have a jacket on top of that, and then 2 one light coat and 1 like big heavy coat. And she was like, how? I was like, I'm never cold now. Okay, watch me. I won't fall sick.
That's perfect. And you got the layers. So because when you go from outside being freezing cold, always inside is incredibly hot.
It's yep, and that's why I have to peel off the layers. But yeah, my friend always made fun of me. She's like, it's not even that cold outside. I was like, just you wait, okay? I'll be the one winning at the end.
Yeah, it's awesome. Brittany, thank you so much for coming back to college with me.
Thank you for inviting me for this podcast. It's great seeing another familiar face, even after how long, right?
It's been so great to catch up.
Yeah. Great.